Hey, today on Speaking of Horses, we're going to have a visit with Wisconsin trainer Dan Grunewald. Dan lives in Helenville, Wisconsin, near Jefferson, Wisconsin. Has been training horses and instructing riders for many, many years. We have some training tips and a great interview with Dan Grunewald at Dan Grunewald Versatile Training and Clinics.
Hello, my name is Dan Grunewald from Dan Grunewald's Training and Clinics. Thank you for being with us today, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about our topic about clipping. So just some basic steps to help you safely clip your horse, to keep you safe and your horse safe. So some of the stuff that I like to do before I bring the clippers out and bring the clipper out and try to get this horse to accept the clippers, I always believe on moving the horse's feet first. So rather than taking this clipper and having the horse scared of the clippers, then in that case the horse is already saying that he's going to back up or she's going to back up. So what I would rather do is, I know this horse, I'm thinking this horse might back up or might get scared or toss his head or whatever it might be. So something I do, and I can do it in stages. Before you use a clipper, maybe I want to just use a plastic bag. It's actually a step below the clippers. Or maybe it's just a paper towel, to kind of get that horse used to that stuff. But whatever you do, the biggest thing to remember is to move the horse's feet before you bring the clipper. So I'm just going to demonstrate a little bit about how I take to initializing the first step. Very important too is giving your horse breaks in between the clipping. Don't try to get both ears done in the 10 minutes that you're trying to clip. Maybe ask for a couple minutes, but then go ahead and give your horse a break. We need breaks, and I really believe the horse needs breaks also. So we're going to go ahead and start up on the ears and maybe the bridle path. So something I'm going to do is I'm going to back her up, and I'm going to go ahead and spin her a couple times, and I'm going to pull her toward me. And the reason why I'm pulling her toward me is because I don't want to affect the getting on later when I get on this 3-year-old for breaking her out and training her. So right now she's just saying, Dan, I just want to stop. So I'll bring her around one more time. I might back her up one more time. I'll turn my clippers on as I'm moving her, but be very, very cautious that you don't get her with the side of the clipper. So I'll go ahead and I'll ask, and maybe I'll just go on the bridle path. And this is a 3-year-old mare that we've spent some time with, but now if she goes to pulling away, don't get in a huge fight with her. So right now she's doing good. Shut it off, give her a break. Once again, now I'm thinking she might move. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to spin her one more time. But most of the time, when the horse goofs up, then we get after them. It's just like when the horse paws on when we have them tied to the wall or tied to the trailer, they go to pawn. Well then we go say knock it off. Well, it's too late because the bad action's out already. So it's very important, like I said, that I know in my mind if I'm going to clip this horse today, that I need to move her feet and move her mind to the point where she says, Dan, I just want to stand. Whoa, oh girl, oh girl. So we're going to go ahead and try a little bit of the ear here. And I touch them with my finger first so the vibration will go through my finger onto her. I don't initialize contact with the blade right away. So you'll see me kind of rub them on the ear. I'll take a swipe, clip, clip. Good. And if they're doing good, like I said, definitely give them a break. So hopefully that just gives you a little bit of ideas on some of the steps that we do to make you safe and to make your horse safe. So thank you again for joining us. My name is Dan Grunewald.
Well, right now we have an interview with Dan Grunewald at his facility in Helenville. Dan works with a lot of 4-H kids, high school kids, and trains many horses, but he also instructs people on how to ride and how to deal with their horses. Hey, welcome to Speaking of Horses. I'm Wayne Williams, your host, and sitting here with Dan Grunewald. Now, Dan is a, I hate to say long-time trainer, but you've got quite a few years in it now. How many years, Dan, have you been doing this?
Well, it's been a while. I don't know exactly as far as how many, but it goes back way to when Mom and Dad got me into 4-H and the open shows, but I guess I've been in the training business for about almost 20 years now, so it's been good, and I'm very happy where I'm at.
See, I knew I could force you to do the math. See, it's like cowboy math. I'll get her done in cowboy time no matter how long it takes, right?
That's right.
So anyway, Dan, you have a nice facility here. You're in Helensville, Wisconsin, which is, an hour east or a little less than an hour east of Madison, basically. And you got a nice facility. You got a lot of horses on the grounds. You work with a lot of horses, and you work with the riders. You kind of put that package together. Matter of fact, you had some horses and riders and everything at the International Buckskin Horse Association World Show just recently.
That's correct. Yep, and it was a great show for us. I was really proud of our exhibitors and our horses, and it was good to see all of our colleagues, our friends, our other trainers from around the country. It's a great show, and we're always looking forward to going back to that horse show as well.
Well, I've been involved, I guess, almost 10 years now with the Buckskin World Show, and it's a lot of fun. I have a ball there. I get to see guys like you and some other compadres that you guys have your own little private rivalries or jokes going, but it's a lot of fun. So when people come to your facility here, what do you have a process in your mind about evaluating where those people are, rider, horse?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, and a lot of times, matter of fact, we just did an evaluation just a couple days ago, and I find when I evaluate a horse and a rider, if it's for a potential, maybe a sale, that they're looking to buy a horse, or even training a horse, I surely want to make my main focus that I try to make that relationship between the horse and rider. I think that's very, very critical as far as the longevity in that relationship. A lot of times if the horse is a little bit too much advanced than the rider is, we see some complications that come along with that. But normally we'll try to help that rider understand that horse and grow with that horse. But if it's a sale horse, sometimes we'll just be honest with them and just say, you know what, this might not be a good pair. But I think honesty and telling the truth is always your best policy, as they say.
Well, definitely. And, of course, one of the things that always scares me is when you hear somebody wanting to get their kids into horses and say, we're going to get a young colt so they can grow up together, right?
Yeah, that's very much so. And as they say, it's like getting a puppy and a kid, and they're growing up together. You got to watch both of them. But we just make sure that trying to, the safety part is a big aspect of that as well. And whatever level they're wanting to go to, I think that has an impact as well, as far as if it's the open shows or county fair, or maybe it's not even showing at all. It might be just trail riding. They just want a safe trail horse. So we evaluate trail horses, we evaluate county fair horses all the way up to the World Show.
Well, and it is quite a job, because the last thing you need is a rider and a horse working out of your facility, and it doesn't go well. All right? It doesn't work out. And when you get back to that, honesty is the best policy. If it's not really going to work and you can tell that, you don't need the stigma of all these people and say, well, I was over there, but it just didn't work, because there's no right answer to why it didn't work once that gets out, right?
That's very true. So being honest and telling them, hey, I just don't think this horse is a good fit for you. In the long run, they really do appreciate that. I think it's a good financial decision, and also it's a good safety decision. But also, not only the evaluation of the horse, we'll also go into the point of evaluating their tack, their saddles, their equipment, and that spectrum as well. So we look at the overall package and help them as many different ways that we can, and try to answer any questions they have.
Yeah, I know. I get my wife upset sometimes because she says, you don't repair that saddle with duct tape, right?
Yeah, no, don't be doing that. Go ahead and try to find a tack shop or someone that you trust a lot. So yeah, don't do what Wayne's doing.
It's the old scene in Major League, that movie, where they got the old prop DC-3 out there, and as they're getting on the plane, they see the pilot putting duct tape around a propeller. I mean, it's just kind of scary, right?
Yes, yeah. Duct tape only works for certain things, but yeah, we do see it out there a lot, but probably not for tack. So.
Unless you watch the Red Green show.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because he's got the duct tape museum, right?
That's very true.
Anyway, let's move along to our subject. Okay, so, when you've got these people in, new clients in, nice people, nice horse, and you've evaluated that the pair seems to be going together pretty well, the rider, the horse, then you can offer assistance, training, and working with them, instruction through various, way up in the levels, right?
Correct. Yep. And there's, like I said, I look at, the customers that come into my barn and the horses that come into my barn. I consider them all students. So when I say students, it's kind of like a teacher in a classroom. One kid isn't going to learn the same way as all the other 15 or 20. So I look at that, each horse differently from, horse to horse to horse, and just exhibitor as well, or rider as well. So when we break down and we evaluate a rider, I try to make it as easy, and I break down the components as much as I can for them, and break it down as much as I can for the horse as well. A lot of times I remember in school, if the teacher went from, level 1 to level 10, I was lost. So, and that's okay with my training. What I do is I say, okay, we're going to take level 1 and we're going to break it up maybe 5, maybe 10 different ways. I'll do that for the horse, and I will definitely do that for the rider as well. And I see a lot of success in that. Rather than getting the horse frustrated and the rider frustrated.
Well, see, one of the advantages you have over some trainers, not all, but some, is the fact that you also compete. You show. So you are staying sharp yourself in what's going on in the show ring, what judges want to see, what judges don't. You're also a judge. Say what they want to see, what they don't want to see, the way the trends are. But you're there and you keep your skills sharp. You're not just somebody on the sideline barking out orders. You do it, and you continue to do it, so you have your finger on the pulse.
That's a good point, Wayne, and I agree with you. From learning and educating myself through the years of being in this industry, it has gotten me to the point of I'm always learning, but also being a judge, being a trainer, being an exhibitor, and just learning and listening and educating myself every day has taught me information how I can teach my customers better and with their horses. So from a judge's point of view, I always tell people, you're more than welcome to come judge a horse show with me and be an apprentice for that one day. You will learn so much. So if you have an opportunity in your area, definitely, if there's a judge in that area, if you're interested in showing, go ask him if they can go ahead and judge with them that someday. I think they can help you a lot, and you can learn a lot from them as well.
Well, and there's always, too, when you see, we just recently did an open show at the Walworth County Fairgrounds for Smiles, therapeutic riding. The judge that they had, and the name escapes me now, but the judge, who I believe was from Waukesha, she really took time to work with the kids and would gather them together while we were waiting for results to get tabulated to read the placings. She would be talking to these kids at length about where they were, what they were, how good the class was, or what they needed to do to improve.
That's very true, and I think that judge did a great job. Also, something that I do is, we'll post the score sheets. And I've been complimented by show management for thank you for doing that. And the exhibitors, they love it. And I really like it when I take my customers to the horse show, because I can walk up to the show office and say, hey, let's take a look at your run. You know, you can see in horsemanship you might have got a penalty 1 or a -1 or -1.5, but hey, on this component, on your spins, you got a +1.5. That's great. So yes, we can definitely learn by sharing ideas from the judge's point of view.
Well, yeah, because that person in the show ring would like to know what happened, what they need to work on. Was it them? Was it the horse? What needs the work to do better?
Correct, and that's why we recently, in the last 4 or 5 years, I've been into the point of doing a lot of mock horse show clinics for areas, not only for Wisconsin, but you know, across the Midwest and so forth. But when we do a mock horse show clinic, we find out that we can stop. It's like a timeout, and we can go up to that exhibitor and say, hey, this is a +1.5. Don't do this. This is a penalty 5. So we teach them. Not only do we teach the exhibitors, we also teach the trainers, the parents, anybody that's on the outside of the fence, usually at a horse show. So it's a great way to educate.
Well, because there's that different level of shows, because at those levels, you know, at the open show levels or the novice levels, you can do all those things. You get to the world show level, you know, and they say 3 minutes till the gate, and you don't make it, gate's closed. Okay, sorry that you didn't have your boot on or a spur came off or whatever the heck it was. You know, you've missed it. And once you're in the arena, there's nothing but competing, but it's a different level. You have now achieved that different level, so you have to work your way through it. Actually, what you're saying reminds me of the people on the more classical side that do dressage rather than ride Western, and that is a 5, 6, 7 year program in developing horse and rider as a team up to the top level. And if the rider is not involved with the horse, if the trainer does the work and the rider or owner just gets on at the show, it ain't going to work.
You're right about that. And that's why I always say, stop being a passenger and be a pilot. You know, you got to help that horse around that arena a little bit. So sometimes we get some riders that they feel like they shouldn't ask as much out of the horse, but just ask a little bit more. And if you find that your horse is maybe getting a little frustrated, it might be because that horse has never went to a level that it's been before. So it's okay if that horse gets a little frustrated at times. That's how we react in anything new as well. We find out that, you know, we might get upset or get bothered a little bit. So, but just stay focused, and I think everything will turn out just fine.
Well, Dan, it's been great visiting with you today. How do people get a hold of you?
They can go ahead and just reach me at, probably the best would be our phone number at 262-853-3249. That'd be the best way. It's the quickest way, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
And it's Dan Grunewald. Spell that last name.
Grunewald.
Because I've been known to misspell that. Dan, thank you very much. Stay with us right here on Speaking of Horses. Well, right now we have one more training tip from Dan Grunewald. Let's watch.
Hello, my name is Dan Grunewald from Dan Grunewald's Training and Clinics. First of all, like I said, thank you for giving us the opportunity to teach you a little bit about a topic that's pretty important to me as far as your safety and the horse's safety. It's actually getting your horse to staying quietly when you can get on your horse. A lot of times when we deal with an older horse or a younger horse, and in this case today, this is a 3-year-old, and sometimes the 3-year-olds or the 2-year-olds or the young ones, or like I said, even the older ones, they have a tendency to, or they have a different agenda than what we do. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you a couple things on how I get my horses to stay a little quieter before I jump on them and start the lesson. So once again, this is a 3-year-old. She's one of my own personal horses, and you're going to find that she's going to want to dance around a little bit. And when I do approach her side, something I do that I know in my mind every day that she wants to move when I get on this horse. So if I go back here and I start approaching this horse to get on, a lot of times they want to swing their hip out, just like she did there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these reins up over her neck, and I'm going to either back her up. So the biggest thing is we have to move her feet. So move her feet by backing her up, pulling her forward. So what I'm doing is I'm just giving her a chance to say, hey, you know what? I really just want to stand. And I'm going to go on this side and I'm going to pull her toward me. And the reason why I pull her toward me on this side is because I don't want to pull her toward me on the other side, because that's the side I get on. So if I go ahead and pull her over here and I turn her this way, I'm already creating a problem that I'm trying to fix. So once again, I know this horse has an issue of me getting on because she always wants to walk off. So I'm going to turn her, turn her, turn her. And you can see she's like, I don't want to do this hard work. So I'm going to stop her. Oop. I'm going to back her up one more time. Oop, oop, oop. I'm going to bring her forward. Oop. Back her one more time, and then I'm going to go ahead and try to jump on her. Now there's a couple other things in here that she might do. Oop, 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 oop. So right here, when I get on the side, and if she decides to walk off, don't swing your leg on. Jump down, back her up. Oop, 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 oop. Bring her forward. So what I'm doing is I'm creating an opportunity for her to understand that it's better to stand than to move her 4 feet on her decision. Some of the two most important things about when I train a horse is saddling, bridling, actually a couple things. Saddling, bridling, and like I said, taking your time getting on the horse. And being a young horse here, whoa, 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 whoa. You can see she kind of wants to move there. Now she moved. That's fine, because we want to show you this stuff. I'm going to back her up. Whoa, whoa. Pull her head. And sometimes I'll even change it up, and I will train the horse where I can get on from this side. Because she doesn't want to walk off, because she's starting to get smart that every time I get on from that side. So we're going to move her one more time here. Move. We'll go ahead and back her up. Move. 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 Good girl. Swing your leg over. Pet your horse. And the first thing I do is I go to backing them right away, because normally they're going to want to walk off. So hopefully I've given you some ideas and some tips on how to teach your horse the basics of standing still when you're approaching and getting on your horse. Thank you again, and my name is Dan Grunewald.
Well, that's our visit with trainer out of Wisconsin, Dan Grunewald, and his versatile training and clinics. He resides in Helensville, Wisconsin. Just look up on Facebook Dan Grunewald, that's Grunewald, Dan Grunewald. He'd love to hear from you, and he could also help you, your horse, and whatever your endeavor is. So thank you again to Dan Grunewald for joining us today on Speaking of Horses. I'm your host, Wayne Williams.